Welcome back, guys. Today I am here to share with you a build for the Azure Wrath sword, Mr. Freezy sword. I had quite a few requests for this, so I figured I would jump straight in here to a dungeon and show you guys the build and how it performs. A lot of things had to change, a lot of adjustments had to be made. That is why it took me a little while to come out with this. It is very hard to balance survivability versus damage when you're equipping this sword, but I think I've got it pretty much figured out. On the helmet, total armor, cooldown reduction, all stats, maximum life, and printed with basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds with a life gem. On our chest piece, we are no longer able to run Rage of Haragoth. The reason for this is because we have to move our armor imprint onto our chest piece, and we cannot do that using the unique piece. We also need increased damage on our chest piece. It is very important as we are trying to compensate for running the sword. On our chest piece, we want total armor, damage with skills that swap to new weapons, damage reduction from close, although you could also do damage reduction from bleeding, etc. Damage with dual-wielded weapons. My rolls are a little low on this. They can obviously be higher to get more damage out of it. Imprinted with the armor aspect. Whenever you deal damage, you gain 0.5% increased armor for 4 seconds, stacking up to 30%. On our gloves, Gores actually is a very good pairing with Azure Wrath because they kind of work off of each other, right? Like the non-physical damage from Azure Wrath is actually increasing the non-physical damage from Gores. So the fire explosion is being boosted by both pieces of gear, as well as the frost damage is being boosted by both pieces of gear. However, we cannot run that in this build because what Gores does not have is a critical strike roll on it, and because we had to move some aspects around to get more damage, we cannot afford to lose the critical strike chance that we can roll on gloves normally. That being said, we are running gloves with 4 ranks of whirlwind, strength, critical strike chance, lucky hit chance, imprinted with skills deal up to 20% increased damage based on your available primary resource when cast, receiving the maximum benefit while you have primary resource. Quick note here, the aspect that we have on our gloves and the aspect that we have on our weapon, attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 20% up to 30%, should be swapped. I do not have any extra of these to play around with it. I have been farming for hours and hours trying to get them swapped for you guys. I cannot find them. So just remember, I will have the build link in the description in the video. It will be correct. So just remember that this imprint goes on the weapon, and the weapon's imprint goes on the gloves. For our pants, we are running all damage reduction from close, total armor, damage reduction from enemies that are bleeding, with imprinted with iron skin, grants unstoppable and 28% damage reduction. For our boots, max evade charges, fury cost reduction, movement speed, all stats, strength, direct damage against bleeding enemies, has a 30% chance to stun them for 2 seconds. On our first two-handed weapon, we are running critical strike damage, all stats, vulnerable damage, strength. Each point of fury you generate while at maximum fury grants your next core skill 4% increased damage up to 60%. For our next first single-handed weapon, we are running the star of the show, Azure Wrath. Azure Wrath freezes enemies when we lucky hit with a 20% chance. For our second slot, and here is where I'm going to get a lot of arguments in the comments, so I'm going to take some time to explain this to you guys so I don't have to deal with it. Ramalodni's Magnum Opus is a significant damage increase in the current meta if you are running dual wield for your whirlwind. Why is this? Your damage numbers, first of all, you're attacking 20% faster than you do, 10 to 20% faster, than you do with a two-handed weapon. So you automatically have to put that damage into the equation. Secondly, look at the aspect on this, is skills using this weapon deal 0.3% multiplicative increased damage per point of fury you have, but you lose 2 fury every second. Okay, let's go into our skill sheet really quick and come down here to our maximum fury. Okay, our maximum fury is sitting at 167 maximum fury. Okay, so how do we figure out how much damage we're getting from the sword? Well, you times 167 by 0.3, and that's going to give you in the 50-ish range somewhere. you are getting a 50% multiplicative increased damage off the unique aspect on this sword. You couple that with the fact that damage with dual-wielded weapons also applies to our build, damage to close enemies also applies to our build. The resource restores, not the best in slot, but it is okay to have. Physical damage is also good, but this sword is getting even better in the update that's coming here in a week or so, and that physical damage roll is actually going to be replaced with vulnerable damage. So this sword is going to be best in slot for dual wield. There's going to be no question about it. If you're dual wield damage, this is going to be best in slot for dual wield damage. Moving on to Chain of the Dire Whirlwind, our amulet. We are running Fury cost reduction, damage with dual wielded weapons, damage with skills that swap to new weapons, and flat damage. Here's where things got a little dicey and where we had to switch stuff around. We are running Whirlwind's critical strike chance is increased by 12% for each second it is channeled, up to 36% on our amulet rather than our two-handed weapon, because we need to find more damage somewhere. Because we are doing that, we need to make up for that critical strike damage, or that critical strike chance loss. That is why we have to run it on our gloves, and why we cannot run gores. For our rings, we want maximum fury, critical strike chance, vulnerable damage, and critical strike damage. This would be the perfect roll for both of our rings. I had to, you want your shout skills generate 2 to 4 fury per second while active on your first ring. On your second ring, you want the same rolls. Replace damage with bleeding with maximum fury, and you'd have a perfect roll on this ring. Whenever you cast a shout skill, its cooldown is reduced by 1.9 seconds. And I've already shown you this, but we'll go over it again. Critical strike damage, all stats, vulnerable damage, core skill damage. Attacking enemies with a basic skill increases the damage of your next core skill cast by 20%. Again, this sword and this glove would have the aspects swapped normally. I just do not have any extra aspects. We are running the two-handed axe expertise. On our skill tree, we are running Lunging Strike up to Combat Lunging Strike. We are running Whirlwind up to Furious Whirlwind. 3 points into Pressure Point. 3 points into Imposing Presence. 1 point into Rallying Cry up to Tactical Rallying Cry. 1 point into Iron Skin down to Tactical Iron Skin. 1 point into Challenging Shout down to Tactical Challenging Shout. 1 point into War Cry into Power War Cry. We have 3 points into Booming Voice, and 3 points into Guttural Yell. I have 3 points into Swiftness. These 3 points that are into Swiftness can be moved over to Raid Leader if you feel like you want the extra heals. I like being speedy. 3 points into Pit Fighter, 3 points into No Mercy, and 3 points into Slaying Strike. 1 point into Thick Skin, 3 points into Counter Offensive, 1 point into Hamstring. 3 points into Tempered Fury, 3 points into Invigorating Fury, and of course, Unbridled Rage. On to the Paragon Tree. A Paragon Tree is very similar to the Hoda build. There's just a few things swapped around. Either way, I will stop on each of these screens and let you get a look at it. Wrath Glyph in the first board. Martial Glyph in the second board. Seething Glyph in the third board. Exploit Glyph in the fourth board. Ambidextrous Glyph in the fifth board. Mortal Draw Glyph in the sixth board. I think that's it for showcasing the build. Let's go ahead and get into this dungeon run and show you guys what it does. We're going to be doing this format a little differently. What I'm going to be doing is actually running through 2 maps, just so you can kind of see how it performs against different types of enemies and so forth. I can tell you right now that the build ranges between, on the low end, you know, if you don't have your buffs up, you're going to be hitting for like, you know, 300-400k on your whirlwind. If you've got your buffs up, so you've got your two basic attacks in, you've got your fury topped off, we can hit all the way as high as like 1.5, 1.6, and obviously this is with my gear not being, you know, perfect right now. So the build is definitely capable of pulling some pretty good numbers. We do lack a tiny bit of survivability compared to the build we were running before. That is because, like I said, we did have to make some adjustments to make the sword work. Basically, as we head into a pool, we want to get 1 or 2 light attacks in. I'm going to reiterate this because I feel like some people get confused on how to play this build and wonder why it's not performing for them. It is imperative that we have our Fury topped off when we start a pool. If we do not have our Fury topped off, we are not going to do that much damage. If our Fury is topped off, we are going to do mucho damage.
I'm not ready yet.
I feel like Azure Wrath is probably going to be a pretty good candidate for pushing higher tier Nightmare Sigils. Although we may be down a tiny bit of damage, we are able to compensate for that from other things, and at the same time we have some added CC to boot. With the patch coming up, like I said while I was explaining the build, this is only going to get stronger. Rumelodnes is getting a buff, which is going to give us another 20 to 30% damage increase while our vulnerable procs are active. We're also getting some buffs to some other aspects, namely the ones that are flat damage, like when you whirlwind and you create dust devils and the aspects of that nature. At some point we're going to be getting a buff. When those things get a buff, I'm going to be experimenting with switching this build around and trying to get as much value out of the non-physical damage procs that are on our sword and probably Gores as well when we get to that point in time with the patch. The next dungeon should be starting around the 16-minute and 20-second mark, so if you want to skip ahead to that and see how it performs against different enemies, feel free to. As for me, this is going to be at the end of my babbling on about the build for you guys. Thank you for watching, and enjoy life.
I must wait. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I need time to do that. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. My bags are full. I'm not ready yet. I can't lift more. not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I need more time. I'm not ready yet. I must wait. I'm not ready yet. I need more time. I must wait. I need more time. I need time to do that. not ready yet. I must wait. I must wait. I'm out of fury. I must wait.